Rosemarie Kessler Simpson posted a picture of us on Mother's Day. All four of us, matching sundresses. And I'm standing right there, smiling, because I didn't know yet that she'd taken $87,000 from me. My name is Gabriela Simpson. For the past 3 years, my stepmother has been running her catering business out of a building I own. She doesn't know that. Nobody in my family does. She sends the rent check every month and never asks who's behind it. And her lease is almost up. And here's where it gets strange. A banquet hall in downtown Reno, a packed room. Rosemarie at a podium giving a speech about building her empire from nothing. And me, sitting in the back, holding a name badge she can't possibly understand yet. If you want to hear how a woman ends up owning the ground her stepmother walks on, and what happened the night Rosemarie finally found out, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications, because this story has about 11 turns you're not going to see coming. Drop a comment telling me where you're listening from tonight. I want to know who's writing this one out with me. Let me take you back to March of 2015, the month my father married Rosemarie, and everything in my life quietly shifted. But first, let me tell you where I am now. It's a Wednesday morning, October 2024. I'm sitting in my office on the 4th floor of a building on South Virginia Street. There's a view of the Truckee River from my window, and some mornings I still stop and look at it because 3 years ago I was working out of a rented storage unit. I manage commercial properties across Washoe County. I have a team of 3, Ren, Jonas, and a part-time bookkeeper named Darla, who's been with me since the beginning. Ren Delacroix is my business partner. We met at UNR our sophomore year, both of us in the same real estate finance elective, both of us too stubborn to drop it when the professor turned out to be terrible. She's the person who told me, 3 years ago, to stop pretending I didn't care about what Rosemarie did. I'll get to that. Right now, I'm looking at a spreadsheet on my screen. It's a lease renewal schedule. Most of the tenants are routine. Auto renewals, standard escalations. But there's one line highlighted in yellow. Tenant, Rosemarie's Table LLC. Property, 740 Holcomb Avenue, Unit B. Lease expiration, November 14th, 2024. Monthly rent, $3,200. I haven't spoken to Rosemarie in over a year. She doesn't know I exist in this capacity. She writes her rent checks to High Basin Property Group and has never once asked who's behind it. Why would she? She's too busy being Reno's favorite caterer. My phone buzzes. It's a text from my dad, Curtis Simpson. He sends one every few weeks. Always the same thing. A photo from some dinner Rosemarie made. A quick note. This one says, Rosemarie's doing a big showcase November 2nd. You should come. She'd love that. I stare at it for a while. Then I close the spreadsheet, put on my jacket, and drive to a property inspection on East 4th Street. Because that's what I do now. I keep moving. Let me back up. Rosemarie came into our lives when I was 15. My mother, Janine, had died 2 years before. Ovarian cancer, stage 3 by the time they caught it. She was 41. I was 13. My brother Nico was 11. And my dad, Curtis, was the kind of man who didn't know how to boil pasta, let alone raise 2 kids through grief. So when Rosemarie showed up, this confident, put-together woman who brought homemade meals and helped Nico with his homework, and told my dad he didn't have to do everything alone, it felt like relief. For a while. Rosemarie was a restaurant hostess when they met. Nothing wrong with that. She worked at a steakhouse called the Timber Room off McCarran Boulevard. But she had ambitions. She talked about wanting to start her own catering company constantly. The menus she'd design, the weddings she'd book, the branding. She had a Pinterest board for it before Pinterest boards were even a thing. My dad thought it was charming. He liked that she had dreams. They got married in March of 2015. Small ceremony at a vineyard in Sparks. I wore a navy dress and stood next to Nico and tried to feel happy. Here's what I remember from the first year. Rosemarie redecorated the house. New curtains, new dishes, new couch. She threw out my mother's recipe binder, the one with the handwritten index cards, and said she was making space. I found the binder in the recycling bin 2 days later. I took it to my room and never mentioned it. My grandmother, my mom's mother, Estelle Fuentes, she saw it happening before anyone. She pulled me aside at Thanksgiving that year and said, "Mija, that woman is measuring the rooms before the paint's dry." Grandma Estelle was right. She was always right. In June of 2006, Grandma Estelle passed away. Pulmonary embolism. She was 68, and she left me $87,000. Her entire savings account, plus the proceeds from selling her condo in Sun Valley. It was in a trust, designated specifically for my college education. The trustee was my father. My father. And Rosemarie knew about every dollar. I was 16 when Grandma Estelle died. I didn't think about the money. I was grieving. But I remember Rosemarie's face at the reading. The lawyer said my name, the amount, and Rosemarie looked at my dad like she'd just found a coupon she forgot she had. Within a year, the catering business had a name, a website, and a commercial kitchen lease. I didn't connect those dots until much later. When I turned 18 and asked my dad about the trust, about using it for UNR tuition, he got quiet. He said, "We had to reallocate some of it. For the family." I asked what that meant. He said Rosemarie's business needed startup capital. He said it was an investment. He said I'd see returns. I never saw a dime. Rosemarie looked at me across the kitchen table that night and said, "Your grandmother would have wanted this family to thrive, Gabriela. Not just you." That was the first time I understood what she was. Back to now. October 9th, 2024. I'm at a coffee shop on Riverside Drive with Ren, going over Q4 projections. Ren's got her laptop open and she's pulling up the Holcomb Avenue file. "So what's the plan?" she asks. She's not talking about the lease terms. She's talking about me. I don't have a plan. Gabby, she's been your tenant for 3 years. You've watched her rent checks clear every month. You've never once flagged it. Never introduced yourself as the owner. Never attended a single property walkthrough at that location. You send Jonas every time. Jonas is thorough. Jonas doesn't know why you avoid that building. She's right. I haven't told Jonas. He's 26, fresh out of his MBA program, and handles the Holcomb Avenue account because I told him it was low priority. He's met Rosemarie twice for routine inspections. He says she's intense but professional. I almost laughed when he said that. Here's the thing about owning a building someone depends on. It doesn't feel like power. It feels like a secret you're carrying in your coat pocket every single day. Heavy, but invisible. I didn't buy 740 Holcomb to trap Rosemarie. I bought it because the deal was good. A package sale. 3 commercial units on Holcomb, 2 on Moana Lane, from an estate liquidation in 2021. I was 30, had just closed my 4th investment property, and Ren found the listing on a Tuesday morning. We put in the offer by Thursday. It wasn't until the tenant roster came through that I saw the name. Rosemarie's Table LLC, Unit B, 36-month lease, $2,800 a month at the time. I remember sitting in my car in the parking lot of a Walmart on Kitsky Lane, staring at my phone, reading that name over and over. Ren called me. I didn't answer. She called again. When I finally picked up, she said, "You okay?" "I own her kitchen," I said. And Ren, who knew the whole story, who'd been there when I was 19 and working 2 jobs to pay my own tuition because the trust was empty, Ren just said, "Yeah, you do." I didn't do anything about it. Not then. I set the rent to market rate, let the lease run, and kept my name off every piece of paper Rosemarie would see. High Basin Property Group. Clean. Anonymous. But now it's October, and the lease is up in 26 days. And my dad just invited me to Rosemarie's showcase. If you've ever found yourself holding something over the person who took everything from you, and you couldn't decide whether to use it or let it go, I think you might understand what I'm about to tell you. Let me know in the comments if that's ever been you, because what happened in the next 3 weeks changed my family permanently. Back to the past. I need to tell you about the years between 18 and 22, because that's when Rosemarie really got comfortable. I enrolled at UNR in August of 2008, without the trust money. I worked at a copy shop on Virginia Street, 16 hours a week. I took out $23,000 in student loans over 4 years. I lived in a house with 3 other girls, 1 bathroom, a kitchen that smelled like burnt ramen, and a landlord who took 9 days to fix a broken heater in January. Rosemarie, meanwhile, was building her empire. By 2009, she'd registered the LLC. By 2010, she had her first corporate client, a tech company holiday party. By 2011, she was booking weddings. My dad had co-signed a $40,000 equipment loan. My brother Nico was working weekends washing dishes for her, unpaid, because that's what family does. I came home for Christmas my sophomore year, and the house looked different. New kitchen island, professional-grade range, copper pots hanging from a rack Rosemarie had installed herself. The living room had been converted into a tasting office with a table that seated 12. My old bedroom was a storage closet for table linens. Nobody told me. I showed up with my duffel bag, and Rosemarie said, "Oh, I thought your dad mentioned it. You can sleep on the pull-out in Nico's room." I slept on a pull-out couch for 2 weeks, in my own house, because my bedroom was holding napkins. And my dad, Curtis, he just kind of shrugged. "She needs the space, Gabby. The business is growing." That was his answer to everything. The business is growing. What he meant was, Rosemarie is happy, so don't rock the boat. I watched my dad shrink during those years. He'd been a foreman at a concrete company. Big guy, thick hands, the kind of man who fixed the sink himself and didn't complain. But with Rosemarie, he became careful. He checked with her before making plans. He stopped seeing his friends on Saturdays because she always needed help with an event. He gave her access to his checking account, and by 2012, she was managing all the household finances. He didn't fight her on anything. Not once. And Nico, my brother, he just went along with it. He was 17 by then, and Rosemarie treated him like her assistant. She'd call him my little sous chef in front of guests. She bought him a car for his 18th birthday, a used Honda Accord, but still, she never bought me anything. The gap was visible. The dollar amounts made it undeniable. Nico got the car, I got the pull-out couch. Nico got a summer job at the catering company, $15 an hour. I got told my tuition was your responsibility now. And the worst part, the part I still carry, is that Nico didn't see it. Or if he did, he didn't say anything. I graduated in May of 2012. Bachelor's in Business Administration. Minor in Real Estate Finance. I had $23,000 in debt, a 3.6 GPA, and nobody from my family at the ceremony. Rosemarie had a wedding that day. A big one. 200 guests at a ranch in Washoe Valley. She told my dad she needed him there to supervise setup. My dad chose tablecloths over my graduation. Ren was there, though. Ren and her mom. They took me to dinner afterward at a place on the river. Ren's mom, Colleen, hugged me in the parking lot and said, "Your grandmother would be so proud." I cried in her arms for maybe 10 minutes. I don't know. It felt like a long time. A few days later, my dad called. He sounded careful. He told me Rosemarie had said most of the trust money was invested wisely, that some of it should come back eventually, once the business turned a real profit. He said, She's got a plan for it, Gabby. Give it time. I wanted to believe him. I think he wanted to believe it too. None of it ever came back. Present day, October 14th. Ren and I are looking at the Holcomb Avenue property file again. But this time it's different, because I got an email from Rosemarie's Table LLC. Subject line, Lease Renewal Inquiry, 740 Holcomb Avenue, Unit B. The email is addressed to High Basin Property Group. It's professional, well written. Probably her accountant drafted it. It asks about renewal terms, requests a meeting with the property manager, and mentions that the business has been a valued tenant for over 3 years with a perfect payment history. She wants to extend for another 36 months. Ren reads over my shoulder and makes a sound. Not quite a laugh, just air through her nose. She has no idea. Ren says, "No. Are you going to tell her?" I don't answer right away. I'm looking at the email signature. It says, Rosemarie Kessler Simpson, Founder and Creative Director, Rosemarie's Table, Reno's premier farm-to-table catering. Below that, a quote in italics, built from nothing, driven by love. Built from nothing. With my grandmother's $87,000. I push back from the table and walk to the window. The coffee shop has a view of the parking lot, which is not exactly inspiring, but I'm not looking at it anyway. I'm running numbers in my head. 3 years of rent, 36 months of silence, and now she wants 36 more. Ren waits. She's good at that. Here's what I keep thinking, I say, still facing the window. If I just renew the lease, standard terms, no meeting, nothing, she'll never know. Another 3 years of checks going into the same account. She goes on with the Instagram posts and the showcases and the built from nothing story. And I go on collecting rent from a woman who stole my college fund. And that works for you? It's worked for 3 years. Has it? I turn around. Ren's got that look. The one where she's not going to tell me what to do, but she's going to make me say the thing I already know. No, I say. It hasn't. I sit back down. I close the laptop. I'm going to her showcase. Ren just looks at me. November 2nd, I say. My dad invited me. She's doing a big event, some kind of anniversary celebration for the business. 10 years. And you're going to, what, just show up? I'm going to show up as myself. Ren asked me one question before we left the coffee shop that day. What do you want to happen? And I said, I want her to know who's been holding the floor under her feet. Past. Summer of 2014. This is the part that's hardest to talk about. 2 years after graduation, I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment off Plum Lane, paying $875 a month, working as a leasing agent at a commercial real estate firm, Kendall and Pratt, on Lakeside Drive. Entry level, $38,000 a year, learning the business from the ground up. I was doing okay. Not great, but okay. Rosemarie's business, meanwhile, had exploded. She'd landed a contract with the Atlantis Casino Resort for their monthly corporate dinners. She had 6 part-time employees. She was getting written up in the Reno Gazette-Journal. And she'd started her Instagram account, @Rosemarie's Table, posting the farm-to-table platters, the linen napkins, the charity galas. She even did a segment on the local news. My dad called me in July and asked if I could come to dinner. Just a family thing, he said. Rosemarie's cooking. I went. I shouldn't have, but I went. It was me, my dad, Rosemarie, Nico, and Rosemarie's sister, Jolene, who was visiting from Sacramento. They were sitting on the new back patio. Yes, another renovation. Drinking wine. And when I walked through the gate, Rosemarie looked up and smiled and said, Gabby, look at you. You look thin. Not, you look good. Not, it's great to see you. You look thin, said with a tilt of the head, like she was concerned. Jolene asked what I did for work. I told her. Commercial real estate, leasing side. Rosemarie interrupted before I finished. She said, Gabriena's always been better with paperwork than people. Some of us are builders. Some of us are, what's the word? Administrators. She said it with a laugh, like it was a joke, like she was being playful. My hands went flat on the table. I pressed them there, hard, because I didn't trust what they'd do otherwise. I felt my jaw lock. I looked straight ahead at the copper pots. Pots my grandmother's money paid for, and I counted to 5 in my head before I took a breath. My dad looked down at his plate, and I saw Nico smirk. After dinner, I was helping clear the table, because of course I was, and Rosemarie followed me into the kitchen. She stood there, leaning against the new granite countertop, and she said something I will never forget. She said, You know, Gabriela, I think you resent me. And I understand. I do. But your grandmother left that money to help this family, not just you. And look what it built. She gestured around the kitchen, the copper pots, the commercial mixer, the framed Gazette Journal article on the wall. I built this, she said, and you're welcome to be part of it any time you want, but you have to earn that, just like I did. Earn it. She took my inheritance and told me to earn my place in what she built with it. I didn't say anything. I put the plates in the sink, and I drove home, and I sat in my car in the apartment parking lot for a long time. I didn't cry. I was past crying about Rosemarie. I just sat there, engine off, hands on the steering wheel, staring at the dashboard. I was 24. I had nothing except a job I was good at and a degree I paid for myself. And the woman who stole my future was telling me I needed to earn it. That was the night I decided. Not revenge. Not some big dramatic plan. I just decided I was going to build something she couldn't touch. Something that was mine. And I was never going to ask anyone's permission. Present, October 19th. The lease inquiry is still sitting in the High Basin inbox. I haven't responded. I keep opening it, reading it, closing it. Ren asks me twice if I want her to draft something. I tell her no. I'm not avoiding it. I'm just not ready to touch it yet. Here's what Rosemarie doesn't know. And I need to explain this because it matters. When I was 24, working at Kendall and Pratt, I started studying for my Nevada real estate broker's license. I passed it in March of 2015, the same month my dad married Rosemarie, actually. I got my license the day before their wedding. By 26, I'd made my first investment, a duplex on 7th Street, $167,000, purchased with a combination of my savings and an SBA loan. I renovated it myself. New paint, new fixtures, repaired the plumbing with a guy named Terrence who worked weekends for cheap because I'd helped his wife find a retail lease on his recommendation. I rented both units within 6 weeks. Cash flow positive by month 3. By 28, I had 3 properties. By 30, 7. Ren came on board full-time when I was 29. She'd been doing real estate consulting and was tired of working for other people. We incorporated High Basin Property Group in January of 2020. Ren picked the name. She said it sounded serious. I just liked that nobody would Google it and find my face. Nobody in my family knew any of this. I'm not exaggerating. My dad thought I was still a leasing agent. Rosemarie probably thought I was answering phones somewhere. Nico hadn't called me in 8 months. I had become the invisible Simpson, the one who showed up at holidays sometimes, stayed quiet, and left early. And the whole time, I was buying buildings. The Holcomb Avenue acquisition happened in April of 2021. 5 units, estate sale, below market. Ren and I closed the deal in 19 days. When the tenant roster came through and I saw Rosemarie's name, I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel anger. I felt, and this is the honest truth, tired. Tired of carrying her around in my life without her even knowing it. But I kept the property. I set the terms fair. I managed it remotely through Jonas. And for 3 years, I collected $3,200 a month from the woman who stole $87,000 from me. I ran the numbers one night. 36 months at $3,200. That's $115,200. I'm past even now. Would you have told them? Would you have picked up the phone and said, "Dad, I own 11 buildings. I'm not the person you think I am." Or would you have kept building in silence? I want to know what you'd have done. Drop it in the comments, because I was about to see something online that almost made me break that silence. Past 2018. I need to tell you about the Instagram post. By this point, Rosemarie had about 12,000 followers. She'd been growing steadily, posting pictures of her platters, behind-the-scenes kitchen shots, motivational quotes about following your passion, standard stuff. But on November 11th, 2018, she posted something different. It was a long caption. The photo was her in the commercial kitchen at 740 Holcomb, which I wouldn't own for another 3 years, stirring something in a huge pot, apron on, hair tied back. The caption read, "10 years ago, I had nothing. A dream, a wooden spoon, and the love of my family. No investors, no trust funds, no handouts, just hard work and faith. No trust funds." I read it at 11:47 p.m. on my phone in bed. I know the exact time because I screenshotted it. I sat up so fast my water glass tipped off the nightstand. I didn't pick it up. I just sat there, phone in both hands, reading it again. No trust funds, no handouts. She raised $87,000 of startup capital from my dead grandmother's trust. Money that was legally mine, and told the internet she had no trust funds. That post got 847 likes, 112 comments, people calling her an inspiration, people saying, "This is what real entrepreneurship looks like." A local magazine reposted it. I almost commented. I had my thumb on the keyboard. I typed out 3 different responses and deleted all of them. Ren called me the next morning. She'd seen the post. She follows Rosemarie, because Ren is the kind of person who believes in keeping your enemies visible. Ren said, "You know you can prove this, right? You have the trust documents. You have the bank records. Your grandmother's lawyer kept copies of everything." I said, "I know. So what are you waiting for?" "I don't know." And I honestly didn't. Part of me thought, if I expose her, I lose my dad. I lose whatever's left of my relationship with Nico. I lose the idea that maybe, someday, they'll see it on their own. But they never did. 3 years of that post being up, and not one person in my family ever said, "Hey, that's not exactly how it happened," because everyone knew, and nobody said anything. My dad knew. He was the trustee. He signed the authorization. He watched that post go up and said nothing. I sat with that one for a long time, longer than any of the others, because he's my father, and he just let it stand. Then I thought about Nico. Remember Thanksgiving 2016? I'd brought up the trust at the dinner table. Just a question, has anyone looked into that? And Nico changed the subject, made some joke about football. I thought he was just being Nico. He was covering for her. He knew enough to steer the conversation away, and he did it with a laugh. And Jolene, Rosemarie bragged to her about the family investment. Jolene sat across from me at dinners and never said a word. I had to put my phone down after that one. I went into the kitchen and stood at the counter and just breathed for a while. That was the year I stopped hoping they'd come around. If that post hit you the way it hit me, subscribe, because what she said next was worse. Present, October 23rd. I'm sitting in my office and I get a call from Jonas. He says Rosemarie's accountant called about the showcase on November 2nd. Something about confirming vendor attendance. Helen, the accountant, Wanted to know if a property representative would be there. I told her probably, Jonas says. Want me to go? No, I'll handle this one myself. Jonas pauses. You never handle Holcomb. I know. New quarter, new priorities. I'll take it. He doesn't push it. He's good that way. After I hang up, I open my desk drawer. Inside, there's a manila folder. Yeah, I know, it's a cliché, but it's actually a manila folder. And inside that folder is a copy of the original trust document from Grandma Estelle's estate. Beneficiary, Gabriela Estelle Simpson. Amount, $87,412.19. Purpose, educational expenses. Trustee, Curtis Raymond Simpson. Below that, there's a bank statement from 2007. A withdrawal of $87,412.19 from the trust account. Transfer destination, a business checking account registered to Rosemarie Kessler Simpson. And below that, a printed screenshot of the Instagram post. No trust funds, no handouts. I've been carrying this folder for 6 years. There's something nobody tells you about holding the truth for that long. You stop knowing if you're being patient or just afraid. The week before the showcase, my dad forwarded me a text from Rosemarie. He does that sometimes. Sends me things, she says. I think to keep me in the loop, or maybe because he doesn't know what else to do. This one said, Curtis, tell Gabriela she's welcome to come Saturday. If she's still doing that little office thing, maybe she can network. LOL. That little office thing. 11 properties, 3 employees, a portfolio she couldn't spell, and she called it that little office thing. I put the text down. I picked up the manila folder. I put it in my bag. I wasn't going to the showcase as a guest anymore. Now here's what I need you to understand. I'm standing in my office, bag packed, folder inside, and Ren is watching me from her desk. She doesn't say anything for a minute. Then she says, You sure? I don't know. That's not a no. No, it's not. Would you have walked into that room? Folder in hand, name on a badge, knowing that the second she sees you, everything changes? Would you have gone through with it? Or would you have just let the lease expire and disappeared? Tell me in the comments. Because in 24 hours, I'm walking into that banquet hall, and there's a podium and a speech and a name badge waiting for me. But here's what I do know. When I walked into that banquet hall on November 2nd, I was wearing a black blazer with my company name on the badge, and Rosemarie was on stage, about to give a speech about building something from nothing. November 2nd, 2024, the Riverwalk Grand, downtown Reno. A rented banquet hall with floor-to-ceiling windows looking out at the Truckee River. Maybe 180, 190 people. White tablecloths, string lights, a banner behind the podium that says, Rosemarie's Table, 10 years of passion, purpose, and flavor. I arrive at 6:15 p.m. The event started at 6. I'm wearing a black blazer, dark jeans, a white blouse. My hair is down. I'm carrying a leather portfolio with the High Basin logo embossed on the front. My name badge, provided by the event organizer, says Gabriela Simpson, High Basin Property Group. I pick up my badge at the registration table. The girl working the desk doesn't blink. She doesn't know me. She doesn't know what that name means in this room. I find table 9. It's near the back, probably where Rosemarie puts the vendors and the accountants. I sit down next to a man in a gray suit who turns out to be the event photographer. We make small talk about the river view. I can see my dad from here. Curtis is at table 2, near the front. He's wearing a sport coat I've never seen. He looks older, thinner. He's sitting next to Nico, who's got a woman with him I don't recognize. Must be the girlfriend he mentioned in a text 4 months ago. They're laughing about something. They don't see me. 7 p.m. Rosemarie takes the stage. She looks good. I'll give her that. Silver blouse, black skirt, heels. Her hair is done. She's got this energy, confident, warm, like she belongs up there. And maybe she does. Maybe she's good at what she does. I don't deny that. But she's about to tell a story that isn't true. And for the first time in 9 years, there's someone in the room who can prove it. She starts with the speech I knew she'd give. The one about humble beginnings, the wooden spoon, the first client, the late nights. My dad tears up. I can see him wiping his eye. Nico nods along. Then she says it. When I started this company, I had nothing but a dream and the support of my husband. No investors, no family money, no shortcuts. Everything you see tonight, every plate, every recipe, every relationship, I built it myself. No family money. I feel Ren's text come through on my phone. I don't look at it. I know what it says. Rosemarie continues. She's talking about her team now, her staff, her Rosemarie's Table family. She thanks my dad by name. She thanks Nico. She does not mention me. Then the event coordinator steps up, a woman named Patrice who's been running logistics all night. She says there are a few vendor acknowledgments. She reads through a list. The florist, the DJ, the linen company. Then she says, and we'd like to recognize our venue partners. Tonight's event is made possible, in part, by the Riverwalk Grand and Rosemarie's Table's home kitchen and workspace at 740 Holcomb Avenue is managed by High Basin Property Group, whose representative is with us tonight. Patrice looks toward the back of the room. At me. Gabriela Simpson. Thank you for being here. The room claps politely. Nobody cares. It's a vendor acknowledgement. Background noise. But Rosemarie is still on stage, and I watch her face. She heard the name. She's processing it. I can see her eyes scanning the back tables. She finds me. Our eyes meet, and I watch her do the math. Gabriela Simpson, High Basin Property Group, 740 Holcomb Avenue. Her face doesn't change for the audience, but I see it. The color leaving her cheeks, her hand tightening on the podium edge, a tiny shake in her jaw. She knows. I don't stand up. I don't wave. I don't smile. I just sit there, holding my leather portfolio, looking directly at her. My dad turns around to see who was acknowledged. He sees me. His face goes through about 4 expressions in 2 seconds. Surprise, confusion, then something I can't name. He mouths, Gabby? Nico turns too. He doesn't mouth anything. He just stares. Rosemarie recovers. She thanks Patrice. She wraps up the speech. Quicker than planned, I think. The room applauds. Music starts. People get up for the buffet line. And then she walks straight to my table. What are you doing here? She says. Her voice is low, controlled, but her eyes are not controlled at all. Dad invited me, and I had a business meeting scheduled with your company regarding your lease renewal. Your what? I open the portfolio. Inside, on top, is the lease agreement. Her signature, High Basin Property Group as lessor. My name as managing partner. I've been your landlord for 3 years, Rosemarie. She stares at the document, then at me, then back at the document. That's not Curtis? My dad has walked over now. He's standing 2 feet away, looking at the lease, looking at me, looking at Rosemarie. He says, I don't understand. I own the building her business operates out of. I say, 740 Holcomb. I've owned it since 2021. She's been paying me rent for 36 months. That's your company? My dad's voice cracks. Yeah, Dad. I own 11 commercial properties in Washoe County. My portfolio cleared $2.1 million last quarter. I have a team. I have an office. I've had all of this for years. Nobody asked. Rosemarie's hands are shaking. She's looking around the room. People are eating, chatting, not paying attention to us yet, but a few heads have turned. Jolene, who's at table 3, is watching. You did this on purpose, Rosemarie says. You came here to humiliate me. No, I came because my dad invited me, and your accountant confirmed the meeting. You hid this from me, from all of us. I let that sit for a second. Then I say, Rosemarie, you took $87,000 from my grandmother's trust, money that was left for me, and used it to start this company. You told the internet you had no trust funds. You told this room you had no family money. I pull out the bank statement, the trust document, the screenshot of the Instagram post. I didn't hide anything. You did. My dad is looking at the documents now. His face, I can't describe it. It's not anger. It's not shame. It's the face of a man seeing something he already knew but never wanted to look at directly. Curtis, she's lying, Rosemarie says, but her voice has lost its shape. It's thin now. That's your signature on the bank transfer, Rosemarie, I say, and that's Dad's authorization as trustee. I've had these since 2018. Nico is standing behind my dad now. He's looking at the papers over Curtis's shoulder. He says, Wait, that's Grandma Estelle's trust? Yeah, Nico, it is. My brother goes quiet. For the first time since I can remember, he doesn't have a joke. He doesn't shrug it off. He just stands there. Rosemarie turns to my dad. Curtis, say something. My dad puts the bank statement down on the table. He takes off his glasses. He rubs his face with both hands. Then he says, I knew. 2 words, almost a whisper. I knew, and I let it happen. Because she told me it was for the family. He's not looking at Rosemarie. He's looking at me. I'm sorry, Gabby. I don't respond right away. Because sorry doesn't rebuild a college fund. Sorry doesn't give me back 10 years of distance. Sorry doesn't undo a single one of those Instagram comments calling Rosemarie self-made. But it's the first honest thing he's said to me in 9 years. And it's enough. For now. The showcase doesn't end with a scene. It ends with Rosemarie walking to the bathroom and not coming out for 20 minutes. It ends with Jolene following her in. It ends with my dad sitting at a table by himself, staring at his hands. It ends with me driving home at 8:47 p.m., alone, listening to nothing. I don't turn on the radio. I don't call Ren. I just drive. The streetlights on Virginia Street go from yellow to red to green, and I stop and go and stop and go, and none of it registers. My hands are on the steering wheel, and they're shaking. I didn't notice that until the light at Plum Lane, where I had to grip harder just to stay in the lane. I pull into my driveway, and I don't get out. I sit there with the engine running. The porch light is on. My neighbor's dog is barking at something. I replay one moment from the showcase. Rosemarie's face when Patrice said my name. The exact second she understood. The way her hand moved to the podium edge. I keep seeing it. I can't stop seeing it. My mouth is dry. I realize I haven't had water since before I left for the showcase. I try to swallow, and it's just this tight, scraped feeling. I look at my hands on the steering wheel, and they're still trembling. I think about calling Ren, but I can't form the sentence I'd say first. Every version sounds wrong. It's done sounds too final. She knows sounds too simple. Nothing fits what actually just happened in that room. I turn off the engine. I sit in the quiet for a while. The dog stops barking. The porch light flickers once. Then my phone rings. Ren calls me at 9:15. I answer. How'd it go? She knows. And? My dad apologized. And Nico? He looked like someone unplugged him. Ren doesn't ask me how I feel. She knows better. She says, Do you want to come over? Colleen made that soup you like. I drive to Ren's house. I eat soup. I sit on her couch. I don't talk for a long time, and she doesn't make me. The next morning, November 3rd, I get 3 texts. The first is from Nico. I didn't know about the trust. I swear I didn't know the details. Can we talk? The second is from my dad. I have a lot to explain. When you're ready. The third is from Rosemarie. You will be hearing from my attorney. Her attorney. That's what she leads with. Not an apology. Not an explanation. An attorney. I forward it to Ren. Ren sends back one word. Classic. Over the next 2 weeks, here's what happens. Rosemarie's attorney, a guy named Fletcher from a firm on Ryland Street, sends a letter to High Basin Property Group claiming predatory leasing practices and undisclosed conflict of interest. It's 12 pages of nothing. My attorney, Maren Voss, reads it and says, "This is a lease between an LLC and a property management company. There's no conflict of interest." She's grasping. Maren sends a response. 4 pages. Clean. Factual. The lease terms were market rate. The tenant had full access to public records showing the LLC ownership structure. No fraud. No deception. No duty to disclose personal relationships in a standard commercial lease. Rosemarie drops the legal threat within a week. What she can't drop is the other thing. The trust. Because I didn't just show those documents to my family. I posted a version of the story, without names, without details identifying Rosemarie specifically, on a local Reno women's business forum I'm part of. Ren's idea. Not to humiliate anyone, but because I wanted to ask, has this happened to anyone else? Family money redirected. Inheritance stolen. Trust mismanaged. 47 women responded in 3 days. I wasn't the only one. And someone in that forum recognized Rosemarie's story anyway. Small city. And within 2 weeks, the comment sections on her Instagram started shifting. People were asking questions. Where did the startup capital actually come from? Is this the same family from that forum post? Rosemarie's follower count dropped from 43,000 to 38,000 in 16 days. She deleted the "No Trust Funds" post on November 19th. Too late. Somebody had already screenshot it. Several somebodies. January 2025. 2 months later. I'm sitting at my desk. Same 4th floor office. Same view of the truckee. It's 8 a.m. and the river is still and gray, and the mountains behind it have snow. I've got a new mug. Ren got it for me for Christmas. It says HBPG in small letters. High Basin Property Group. Our little inside joke. The Holcomb Avenue lease expired on November 14th. Rosemarie did not renew. She moved her operation to a smaller space on Vassar Street, about 600 square feet less, further from downtown. Higher per square foot rent, but a shorter commitment. 12-month lease. She's scaling back. The Atlantis contract didn't renew either, but I don't know if that's connected to me or just timing. Ren thinks it's both. I filled Unit B within 3 weeks. A physical therapy practice. 28-month lease. $3,600 a month. My dad and I have talked twice since the showcase. Once on the phone, once in person. Coffee at a place on Keystone Avenue. He looked tired. He didn't make excuses. He said, "I let her take control because I didn't know how to do any of this without your mother. And by the time I realized what was happening with the trust, it was already spent." I asked him why he never told me the truth. He said, "Because I was ashamed." I don't know where that leaves us. I'm not angry at him the way I'm angry at Rosemarie. With Rosemarie, the anger is clean. She took something. She lied about it. She built a brand on that lie. That's clear. With my dad, it's messier. He failed me. But he also lost his wife and didn't know how to function. And Rosemarie walked into that vacuum and filled it. I'm not excusing him, but I understand the shape of it. We're going to keep talking. I'm not rushing it. Nico called me in December. Long call. 47 minutes. He cried. He said he didn't know about the full amount of the trust. He knew Rosemarie had used some family money, but he thought it was Dad's savings, not Grandma Estelle's trust. I believe him. Maybe I shouldn't, but I do. Because Nico was 11 when Mom died, and 15 when Rosemarie took the money. He was a kid. He didn't have the full picture. He asked if he could visit my office. He wanted to see what I'd built. I said yes. He came on a Saturday. I showed him the buildings, drove him around to a few of them. The duplex on 7th Street, the mixed use on Moana Lane, the office on South Virginia. He stood in my office and looked at the certificates on the wall. Broker's license, CCIM designation, a framed photo of me and Ren at the ribbon cutting for our second property. He said, "How did you do all this and none of us knew?" I said, "You never asked." He didn't have an answer for that. He just nodded. Before he left, he hugged me. He said, "I'm sorry I wasn't paying attention." I said, "Yeah, me too." That was honest. That was real. And it wasn't enough to fix everything, but it was a start. March 2025. 5 months since the showcase. Saturday morning. I'm at the farmer's market on California Avenue with Ren. We go almost every week now. It's become our thing. She buys overpriced honey. I buy whatever tomatoes look least damaged. My phone buzzes. It's a Google alert I set up. I'm not proud of this, but I set it. For Rosemarie's table. It's a post from a local food blog. Rosemarie's applied for a booth at the Reno Street Food Festival. Small vendors only. It's the kind of event she would have headlined 3 years ago. Now she's applying for a 10 by 10 booth next to college kids selling empanadas. I read it. I close it. I put my phone in my pocket. Ren sees my face. Rosemarie? She's doing a street food booth. Ren picks up a jar of lavender honey and inspects the label. How does that make you feel? I don't know. Small? Small how? Like, I thought I'd feel more, seeing her shrink, but it just feels quiet. Ren puts the honey in her bag. That's because you're not her, Gabby. You were never about making someone else small. You were about making yourself real. That's the truest thing anyone's ever said to me. And Ren said it while buying artisanal honey, which is so perfectly Ren that I almost laughed. I didn't go after Rosemarie. I didn't sabotage her lease. I didn't plant the Instagram backlash. All I did was show up to an event my father invited me to, wearing my own name. The truth did the rest. Rosemarie built her whole identity on a story that wasn't true. And when the real story walked into the room, the fake one couldn't hold. That's not revenge. That's gravity. Now, I want to say something to you, because you've been here with me for this whole ride, and I don't take that lightly. You stayed through the trust, through the pull-out couch, through the copper pots and the showcase and all of it. That means something to me. This story was hard to tell, not because of the anger. I've had years to process the anger. It was hard because telling it means admitting that my family broke, and I couldn't fix it. I can buy buildings and manage portfolios and negotiate leases in my sleep, but I couldn't make my dad choose me. I couldn't make Rosemarie honest. I couldn't make Nico see what was happening while it was happening. And if that sounds familiar to you, if you've ever been the person in the family who did everything right and still ended up invisible, then I think you know exactly why I'm telling you this. If this story reached you, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Not for me, for the next woman sitting in her car in a parking lot, wondering if anyone sees her. These stories find the people who need them, and the more of us there are, the louder the truth gets. Tell me in the comments, what was the moment you stopped being invisible? I want to hear it. I want to read every single one. And if you want to hear more stories like this, stories about women who built something nobody expected, there's always another one waiting for you on this channel. Come find it when you're ready. My name is Gabriela Estelle Simpson. I'm 34 years old. I live in Reno, Nevada. I own 11 buildings, a company, and a truth my stepmother still can't look at. The quietest person in the room built the room.